In this chapter, we're going to explore the properties of multiplication and division. Multiplying a number is the same as adding the number repeatedly. For example, 5 times 3 is equal to 5 plus 5 plus 5. In other words, multiplying 5 and 3 is the same as adding 5 3 times. Division is the inverse of multiplication, just as subtraction is the inverse of addition. For example, 5 times 3 equals 15, so 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. As before, we will learn how to solve equations that contain variables. Here are some examples. We will also explore strategies that we can use to simplify more complex equations, such as this one. The multiplicative identity property says that multiplying a value by 1 results in the same value. More precisely, a times 1 equals a. Here are some examples. 5 times 1 equals 5. 3 plus 6 times 1 equals 3 plus 6. And x divided by 4 times 1 is equal to x divided by 4. The product of any value and 0 is 0. More precisely, 8 times 0 equals 0. Here are some examples. 5 times 0 equals 0. 3 plus 6 times 0 equals 0. And x divided by 4 times 0 equals 0. The commutative property of multiplication says that swapping terms in multiplication does not change the outcome. More precisely, a times b is equal to b times a. Here are some examples. 5 times 7 equals 7 times 5. X times y plus 10 is equal to y plus 10 times x. And m times n times 2 is equal to 2 times m times n. The associative property of multiplication says that when multiplying 3 terms, changing the order of operations does not change the outcome. More precisely, a times b times c is equal to a times b times c. Here are some examples. 5 times 7 times 9 is equal to 5 times 7 times 9. X times y plus 2 times z is equal to x times y plus 2 times z. M times n times 2 times j times k is equal to m times n times 2 times j times k. The multiplicative property of equality allows us to multiply both sides of an equation by a value. More precisely, if a is equal to b, then a times c equals b times c. If some equation is true, then it will stay true after we multiply a value to each side. In Logic Walk, this property is actually an example of substitution, but since it is commonly labeled a property, we will adopt the same naming convention. Here are some examples. If 5 is equal to x, then 5 times 9 equals x times 9. If x is equal to 7, then x times y equals 7 times y. If m times n equals 2, then m times n times j times k is equal to 2 times j times k. Let's prove the following theorem. If a is equal to b times c, then a times a is equal to b times c times b times c. We are given that a equals b times c. First, we can use the multiplicative property of equality to claim that a times a is equal to b times c times b times c. Then we can use a variation of the associative property to claim that b times c times b times c is equal to b times c times b times c. Finally, we can use the transitive property to claim that a times a is equal to b times c times b times c.